This after a tweet by Rockets GM Daryl Morey. The tweet showed support for anti-government protesters in Hong Kong and simultaneously upset the Chinese government. Our Rachel Nichols is in Shanghai with the latest on the NBA's dispute with China.
Well, it's been highly frustrating for the players. The Lakers were supposed to do an NBA Cares community event to benefit Special Olympics, but that was canceled by the government. They were supposed to participate in a fan appreciation night, but that was canceled. Their practices had to be moved because suddenly the arena they were supposed to use wasn't available anymore. Plus, they're watching all the signs and banners that were hanging up around town here advertising this game. Those are getting ripped down. In fact, right across from the player hotel was a huge 25-story banner featuring LeBron, Anthony Davis, Kyrie Irving. And all day today, there was a construction worker on a cherry picker pulling it off of the building. All this has, of course, led to questions over whether this game is even going to be played, but the truth is, no one knows. Sources tell me the players met with Adam Silver today after he arrived in Shanghai, and he told them the NBA's plan was to go ahead. But I'm also told there was some frustration in the room. The players don't like being put in the middle of all this. They were supposed to be available to the media today, but that availability was suspended because guys just don't feel comfortable being pressed on political issues they don't feel they know enough about. I've also had guys tell me they're upset about the position this has put them in with the Chinese fans. You know, I came to China a few years ago with LeBron, and there were thousands of people in the streets to see him, and that can be typical of the reception that players get here, but not on this trip. We've only had a couple dozen fans come out to meet the player buses as they've been going back and forth. And when the Lakers arrived here, yes, there were fans that came out to see them. But when NBA entertainment cameras tried to take some footage of them, a few of the fans actually put their fingers up to hide their faces. That's a pretty strong reflection of just how little anyone here in China wants to be associated with the NBA right now.
All right, Rachel, thank you so much for that. The Lakers and Nets, to that end, are scheduled to play in China tomorrow morning at 7:30 a.m. and again on Saturday. We will keep you updated on the status of those games and other developments from China throughout the day right here on SportsCenter.
To the NFL, the Chiefs took their first loss of the season Sunday night in large part because Patrick Mahomes was not his customary self. Mahomes just one touchdown pass over his last two games. And against the Colts, he was limping around on a bad ankle, sacked 4 times as the Chiefs mustered just 13 points. We've got Dan Orlovsky in to talk about this. We're all gaga over Patrick Mahomes' arm, but his wheels are pretty important to his game as well. So if the ankle is still bothering him coming up on Sunday, how does that impact what he can do?
Well, he might not be able to do some of those special plays that we see, the plays that we kind of drop our jaws at, and the second reactionary stuff when things break down or the situation is stacked against him. These third down and longs where you go, there's no way that Kansas City's offense is going to be able to make something happen here. The 3rd and 18s or the 3rd and 28s. We might not be able to see that, and you might be able to kind of hinder his ability to make that stuff. You feel better as a defense going, as long as we get them into situations where they have to pass, which is crazy to think that way.
Yes.
He's not going to be able to move around the way he has certainly in the beginning part of his career. And I would also look at it like this. Houston knows that he's hurt, right? And they can certainly flush him out with pressure to a certain direction. So if I'm thinking left ankle, I want him to move to his left if I'm a defensive guy. So I wouldn't be surprised if Houston brought pressure off of his right, forced him to move on that left, that ginger left ankle.
Okay, interesting take there. Watson and Mahomes are the two best, according to Next Gen Stats, at improvising, which is getting rid of the ball after 5 seconds. When you see that, what is it that separates these two guys from the rest of the NFL?
They're the ultimate boomer bust when it comes to that. They both are so willing to potentially take a huge hit or a 5 or 8 yard loss for the big play, for the big game, because they go in the home run derby mode where they want to swing for the fences and they're okay if they miss. And they're so confident that, listen, if this leads to a bad play, whether, again, it's a loss or we set ourselves in bad situations, they know I'll get mine. I will get my opportunity again to at some point make a big play. And so that's why they're both so willing to move around the pocket. And whether it's running by themselves or creating big plays when they are finding those seams or are moving against defenders, they're confident enough tucking the ball and still keeping their eyes downfield because they want the 450-foot home run. And so it's really certainly a talent level and a skill set, but it's a mindset, a confidence of, I will get mine at some point, and if I have a 5-yard loss, it's okay.
It should be fun. First time these two young quarterbacks meeting up on a football field. We'll see what Mahomes can do with his ankle. Dan giving us some insight into all that. A little later on SportsCenter Coast to Coast, you got the injury to Mahomes. Is Tyreek Hill coming back? What's Kansas City's game plan going to be for the Texans? We'll get into that a little bit later.
We're talking Game 4 ALDS. Astros, Rays, Tropicana Field. Justin Verlander pitching on 3 days rest in Game 4. That was the story going into it. How would he do? Bottom of the first, one out. Pham hits one over the left center wall. No bueno. Rays take the lead right away. No pressure, though. A few batters later, what do we have? Rays lead 2-0. Well, what happens here? Window. He hits to the wall in right field. Meanwhile, Garcia scores. So what does that mean? Verlander has now allowed 3 runs in the first inning, the most runs he's allowed in the first inning of the playoff game in his career. Going to the fourth, Jordan Alvarez, well, he hits one off center wall. Kevin Kiermaier catches it, throws it to Adams. Well, and then what happens? Jose Altuve, I'm going to give you the lead now. Well, he's out. He was tagged out. Altuve cannot believe it, but that's exactly what happened. Rays lead 4-1. Blake Snell, well, he gets Gurriel to ground out Wendell, and that was it. Rays hold on to win. Justin Verlander is talking about what exactly happened on short rest. Let's listen.
The low-hanging fruit is to sit there and say that this was short rest, and that's the reason why. I don't think so. I felt good. Body felt good physically. Just didn't execute the way I needed to.
We deserve it as well. We're a great team, and great teams deserve atmospheres like this.
Did you do what you said? Did you shock the world?
I think so. We've made it this far. I think that's pretty safe to say, but we're not content with this. We want to win one more and keep this thing going, and we plan on doing just that.
They want to win one more. The Rays have won 4 straight games when facing elimination on the road, including one against the A's already this postseason. A win tomorrow would make them the 4th team in postseason history to win 5 straight elimination games on the road. The other 3 teams to do it each won multiple World Series along the way. We could have a story here, folks. For more, we welcome in our insider, Tim Kirkchin. Thank you so much. Good news, the Rays force a decisive Game 5 tomorrow night. Bad news, they'll have to face Jarrett Cole, who struck out 15 Rays in Game 2. Tim, the idea of beating Verlander and Cole in consecutive games seems like a tough ask. So what's your thought?
Well, Garrett Cole is the most overpowering pitcher in the game today. 15 strikeouts last time out. Only Kevin Brown and Bob Gibson have struck out more in a postseason game. Garrett Cole's last 10 starts, he has at least 10 strikeouts in all of them. Pedro Martinez in the regular season is the only pitcher ever to have a streak like that. And in those 10 starts, Garrett Cole has 9 walks and 125 strikeouts. Nobody has hit this guy for the last 2 months. And that's what the Rays are up against tomorrow night.
So that is tough, as said. Meanwhile, we'll go on 2 Game 5s in the NLDS tonight, including the Nats' Steven Strasburg taking on Walker Buehler, and the Dodgers. Both teams have failed to meet recent postseason expectations. That's fair to say. So, in your opinion, which franchise needs to win this more?
Well, I think it's the Dodgers. The Dodgers won more games this year than any Dodger team ever. They hit more homers this year than any National League team ever. This was the year they were going to make up for losing in the World Series the last 2 years. This is the best Dodger team that we have seen in a long time, and they were supposed to make it to the World Series again, almost for certain, and now they have a real fight tonight. At least they have Walker Buehler going for them. Pressure is enormous on the Dodgers, and I can't wait to see what happens.
There's a lot of pressure here in LA. You can feel it. There was no traffic at all on the roads. People were very, very nervous, Tim. Tim Kirkchin joining us here on SportsCenter Coast to Coast. I appreciate it.
Up next, we'll dissect whether it's worth